Hello and welcome to the match report, hosted, of course, by Three in Midfield. Cahill, Kojo to my left, apparently. How you doing, Kojo?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. How you doing?
Sure.
Yeah, man. I got over what happened on Saturday, so we'll get into that. I know I have to revisit, but yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Top four fabulous, boy. That's how I'm doing. That's how I'm doing too, man. It's going to be a very interesting run, and we shall get into that later when another guest joins us. But Steve joins us again. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. But not so much the level that Kojo went through the pain at the weekend, but wasn't what we were planning for. But I'm cool with it, mate, and I'm sure we'll get into it. Thanks again for having me on, guys, and good to see you both are well.
Always a pleasure to have you on, Steve. We shall wait for the big games. Let's get the small ones out first. Let's go Brighton 4, Manchester United 0. Just a small game, a mid-table clash.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're doing now.
at the Amex, 4-0, and it could have been 6 or 7 if you're being totally honest. Goals from. It would have been beautiful if Danny Welbeck scored, but he didn't. I need to get this up. Match day 36, please. There we go. On, of course, the One Football app, who don't sponsor us, but anyway, sponsor us, One Football. Why not? Moises Caicedo, Cucurella, Pascal Gross, and Leandro Trossard. The most boring names and boring players that could have scored. And they did, Kojo. How does that make you feel?
Well, I kind of said before the game to my cousins, it's lovely. I had two of my cousins over, and they're both Arsenal fans. So that was lovely. I said to them that I don't think we're going to win the game. Not that I expected a 4-0. Not going to say that, but I just there's nothing left in this team. Not that I had anything to begin with. What was about this game?
All right, cool then.
Oh no. I say that as in the team is still very disjointed. It's not balanced. You know, we signed 3 top players, and we should be doing better with the team that we have. But I think from early on in the season, everyone saw that United was just not going to do anything near what City or Liverpool are doing right now to compete with next to them. So that's what I mean by that. But in the game, look, Brighton. Firstly, let's praise them because they played United off the park. This wasn't a game where you look back and say United created some chances, but Brighton just had a clinicalness about them. There was the big shock in that. They looked like the Premier League side that's challenging for the top 4, and the Man United looked at the side that's some mid-table / even challenging for the relegation battle kind of team. They play Man United off the park. They were aggressive in their press. And what they did is, look, it's very simple. It was stop Ronaldo, which has always been a plan for many teams over the years when you're getting Ronaldo, whether it's Real Madrid or whoever. But it was stop Ronaldo because the rest of them can't play, minus Mata. Mata on the ball looked a bit tidy, but when he gave the ball to someone, they didn't know what to do. They kind of forced United to pass the ball towards the direction of McTominay, who's very, very poor with the ball. And they pressed him very quickly. Welbeck was fantastic. Trossard was fantastic. Cucurella was having the day of his life on that left side.
Almost broke down.
Yeah, exactly. Almost broke down after the goal. And I think they even said, Caicedo said that he's a Man United fan, but the way he celebrated, he definitely wanted Man United to suffer. And the goalkeeper had nothing to do in that game. That's how much I can compliment them. They deserved to win the game. Now, as for Man United, it's same old, isn't it? It's repetitive at this point. Every week is going to be a rant. If it's not from me, it's from another Man United fan, another podcast. It's become a part of the season, a part of Man United fans' life right now. Look, they deserve to get hammered. That confirmed, even though I think we all knew here that they won't get in top 4 anyway, but that mathematically confirmed that they're not going to get top 4. It's crazy that you were speaking about the expectations earlier because when I said that we signed Ronaldo, this guy and that guy. Man United are on course to have their lowest points finish ever in Premier League history, and coincidentally, all of them are when Sir Alex Ferguson is not there. That tells you the whole story of how Man United have capitulated since 2013. So, look, Brighton were fantastic, man. I don't want to take anything from them because if I just sit here and slaughter Man United, it will take away from what Brighton did. They did the slaughtering. That's what they did. And they were the best side from start to finish. They deserved it. 4-0 was even kind, to be honest. So, yeah, a lot of work to do for Man United, but Brian, well done.
I mean, he doesn't want to slaughter Manchester United because he wants to.
I will.
On Brighton. Let's go, Steve. Let's slaughter Manchester United. How pathetic were they? I mean, it's not an easy place to go to, the Amex, especially with the way Brighton are playing and can play. But still, though, for a guy like Ralph Rangnick, who, I mean, he's taught like the likes of Klopp and Tuchel and so on and so forth. And defensively, you imagine that they took a lot from him because defensively they are very top solid managers. But boy, this Manchester United side aren't taking any lessons from this manager. They just don't seem to care anymore.
No, they don't care anymore. And I've long been an advocate of performances start and stop and all the bookends at the manager's door. What you saw at the weekend was a bunch of players. Cristiano Ronaldo tried. He always will. But the rest of them couldn't really be bothered. Their mind's elsewhere. They've got a manager who's outgoing. They've got a new manager coming in. They're waiting to see what happens. You know, why are Manchester United playing Juan Mata when they haven't played him for 2 years? You know, it's kind of like, okay, you go in, we'll put you in the window. You go back to Spain, we'll go to Getafe or someone like that and have a swan song, sort of David Silva-esque, and go and play for somebody over there. More concerning than anything else is that Brighton picked Manchester United to put the swag on and play the way they played. And we've seen this frequently. Watford, arguably one of the worst teams that the Premier League's had in recent years, turned up big time against Manchester United. Cast your mind back to, I think it's 3-0, and they go 3-on-1, and they're getting each other's way, and he puts it wide. Yeah. You know, you're right, it could have been 6 or 7, and we wouldn't be sitting here saying, oh, that scoreline flattered Brighton. It didn't. Brighton have been trying to do what they did to Manchester United to everybody in the league all season without massive degrees of success. So I think you've got to look at this and say, right, that has to be absolute rock bottom. It can't get any worse than that for Manchester United. It really can't. But the job just got immeasurably bigger. There's nobody in the squad other than Ronaldo, as I said before. You look at that and say, actually, I think I can see a place for you in the team next year. If you put the right players around them, Fernandes will come up to a level, and you want to pray you haven't broken Varane, because that player must be thinking, what have I done? What have I done? You don't become a bad player overnight, but he looked dreadful at the weekend. And that's because he doesn't know what's going on in front of him. I don't think anybody knows what's going on in front of him. So I'm not going to we go down this route every week at the moment, which must be crushing for Kojo, but it's worse than Liverpool everywhere in the 30 years that we waited to get back a title. You can reference the Roy Hodgson season. They came out of that with a League Cup win. Manchester United aren't going to win anything this year.
He did. He actually did.
So it's an interesting. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and it needs everything, doesn't it? It needs the whole thing put under a microscope, and it needs to be broken down into every facet of a football club, and it all needs looking at, because quite frankly, if you're a Manchester United fan, it stinks what's going on there at the moment.
What I will criticize about United is see. No, I know. To be honest, I'm going to get on the fans. I'm going to get onto the fans a little bit because, you know, and I'm going to put myself in that, including I'm a Man United fan at the end of the day. We tend to always pick our favourites. I think everyone has their favourites at their club, but, you know, they will try and support the whole team as a whole. It's not, I will support this guy and the rest of them, I don't like them. So, you know, I hear a lot of United fans say this is a very unlikable squad. And my thing is, whether you like a player or not, the first thing you need to do when they get onto the pitch is support them. If they then show a lack of effort and all that, you'll boo them, you'll let them know how you feel, and that's perfectly understandable. But if your mood is defeatist from the jump on certain characters, and then you favor other characters who, just because they look like they try hard when they don't really, or they have a belief that they want to play for the shirt. I mean, Steve said it. None of the players wanted it apart from Ronaldo. And a lot of the players that are supposedly loved for wanting it, like a McTominay or a I don't know, even a Rashford. Rashford didn't play, but I'll put him in there, for example. These are players that haven't provided a good level of effort for a long time. And on top of effort, you need quality. And it's like United fans have lost the idea of having effort with quality. That's what Man United had it all under Alex Ferguson. That's what Man United had a little bit under Jose Mourinho when they won 2 trophies and then they finished second behind the Centurions. Good season for them. 81 points, not too bad. But, you know, you need to understand that what made United so good is what makes Liverpool and City so good. They have players that work hard, but more importantly, they have players that have quality. And you don't have to shell out a lot of money. Or, I mean, City and Liverpool have spent money, but you spend wisely. That's the key word. You spend wisely, you spend smart, you know, and then you find your gems here and there. You know, I was comparing Liverpool squad to United squad of 08 when I was saying, like, you know, Evra was pennies, so was Robertson. You know, Matip was free. Konate was a decent price, good signing. Vidic was a decent price, good signing as well. Van Dijk is your marquee centre back signing. Rio Ferdinand is Man United's marquee centre back signing. Wes Brown is nowhere near Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Wes Brown was superb. Like Trent Alexander-Arnold right now is superb in that season alone, that in 2008 that he was. Like, the bits are there, it's all fixed in. But United fans have sort of lost their identity of, oh, you know what, let's try and support the team to buy good players. And, you know, they almost bought so much into what Woodward was saying. They criticized Woodward so much, but it's like, well, why do you want to buy Galacticos? But wait, hold on, you're buying Falcao and Di Maria. I'm so happy. Where are you going to fit into the team? I don't know, but let's put them in anyway. That's not how football works. And now we've got to a point where we're begging the old guard to stay. Of all midfielders we have right now, because Pogba's going, so I'm not going to talk about him. I would want Mata to stay out of all of them, because Mata's the only one that's tidy with the football. Mata's the only one that's intelligent with the football. Mata's the only one with a winning mentality in that team, in that midfield, rather, I should say. So, look, this has been coming for a long time, and it's just been building and building and building. And it's similar to how, like, United fans would say to Arsenal, eventually, you're going to finish outside the top 4, and they would laugh at Arsenal for it. Now, Arsenal are coming themselves back up, and they're competing for the top 4. And if they don't get into the top 4, it's an improvement on last season because they finished 8th. So 4th or 5th, they're good. Man United, on the other hand, have thought they were so comfortable in the top 4. And then ever since Alex Ferguson left, they spent more years out of the Champions League than in. So this collapse was coming, and they didn't see it coming. I felt like I saw it coming at times. Admittedly, I got excited as well. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hide about that. But this has been pending. And this slapping that Brighton handed Man United has been pending all season. Funny thing, they were talking about Ranić doing worse than Ole. Man United fans were singing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's name at the end of the game. And
no way.
Yeah. And I was sitting there and listening to it, and Man United fans on social saying we shouldn't have sacked him. He wouldn't have taken a 4-0 to Brighton. I was like, 4-1 Watford, 4-0, or was it 5-0 Old Trafford Liverpool? The 2-0 against Man City where they could have made it 8, but they just played with you. Memories are very, very short. You know what I'm saying? Either very short or very selective. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that they keep getting back into. So, look, again, I've said it, I think 6-7 weeks in a row now. I don't envy Ten Hag. I don't envy the new manager. I just can't, because this job is bad. It's a very bad job, and there's a lot of work to do. And the hard thing for him is he can't change the whole team in one summer, but he's going to have to change that whole team. So whoever he can bring in, whatever the transfer kitty is, I have no idea, but he has got one hell of a job, because a lot of these players, not only do they not want it, but they're nowhere near the level that you need to even push for a Champions League spot, let alone maybe one day a title race again. So that's me.
Bigger point to close on, if that's what we're going to do, is that it doesn't matter what Ten Hag thinks or what he hopes to achieve. unless the infrastructure of the club gets behind that and creates a business model that allows him to do what he needs to do, and stop looking at stakeholder dividends and shareholder dividends and paying off debt. And you probably need to spend 70 million on the ground because it needs a lot of work.
They've only started that just now.
Yeah,
we had leaks 2 or 3 seasons in a row because of simple rain, and not even like heavy rain, little drizzle. And it's only now that they started fixing it. This is the kind of stuff that's happening. You're right. It's infrastructure. It's everything above, because City, quote unquote, built City for Pep. They built it for Pep. They're always boys and all that. But he knows that he has backing behind him. Jurgen Klopp, whether Liverpool fans love or hate the owners, right now he's been backed enough to get in what he needs to challenge consistently. That's what you need. I mean, sorry, you keep going, man.
hard times, but football's cyclical, and you get out of that cycle and you get it back as long as you do the right things. We didn't plan for, when football became a business, we thought cups of tea, boot room, and five-a-side would always bring us trophies. In the background, Irving Scholar, Martin Edwards, and all those guys were building a brand and building a 70,000-seater stadium, and it took us 20 years to catch up. What stuns me more than anything in today's football is that Manchester United have done the modern equivalent to what Liverpool did by allowing themselves to stagnate and stand still, and make some absolutely ludicrous decisions in the boardroom in terms of leveraging the purchase of the club as a loan, paying £800 million debt interest charges. What could a club like Manchester United do with that £800 million staying in the club? Horrendous.
I mean, you mentioned Ten Hag before. This it's a weird one, because whenever a new manager comes in or there's a new manager announced, it's usually the players that are going to stay. They somehow they want to or trying to stay. They want to show the new manager what they can do and what they can do with this team and go and prove that they're valuable going forward. But none of these men do. It's a very interesting job he's got, because he's got a whole bunch of key players that are leaving, and he's got a whole bunch of average players staying. So what's the first thing he's going to do when he gets there?
I mean, the funny thing about the average players is that they're not marketable. I mean, how do you put someone on a transfer list and say, for example, I think you'll be able to sign Wan-Bissaka. I think you should sign Wan-Bissaka from our club. Why? Because he's on the transfer list. That's the most he can offer you. Yeah, he's not had a good time at United, and that's not me trying to, poo on him. Like, he's a young guy.
You sure that Aaron Wan-Bissaka, the first name to mention being on the transfer list?
Because the rumors are Crystal Palace are trying to get him back already. So so it's like, if you do want to sell him, unless you're his former club right now, you don't have a foot to stand on as a Man United, as a club, and say this is the reason why you should sign our player, because it's not only him, but he's been part of a very bad team, and he's played his part in that bad team. That's just the truth. Ronaldo's the only one that still has a bit of credibility about himself. Maybe De Gea as well, but even then, sometimes he's having a bit of a struggle himself, and but where does Ten Hag start? That is the question. Are you gonna look at the squad and say, is it better for me to try and get man out of here first? Because players coming in is a given. That's needed. But you need players out of that squad as well. And minus the free agents, Matic, Mata, Pogba. I don't know who else is part of that. Maybe
Cavani.
Cavani.
Cavani. Yeah, I forgot about Cavani, of course. Cavani. Martial doesn't want to come back to the club full time anyway. His loan's not going to work out, but he doesn't want to be at the club full time. You don't even know if Rashford wants to be there right now. Mentally, I feel like he's signed out. He even looks skinnier. Looks like he's lost muscle. So I feel like he's really struggling with himself right now. And needs to be looked after properly by the club. But they've got a history of not doing that for other players. I prefer not to speak on that one. I don't know, man. It's so long. There's so much to do. And one day I'll properly maybe sit down and do like a proper analysis of the squad and say maybe you keep this for squad player and all that. But right now, all of them, bar 2 players for me, or 3. Oh no, 4. Sorry, I'll put Sancho out. Sancho was getting better before he got injured. The rest of them, they don't really have a foot to stand on. So
two things there. First of all, put Wan-Bissaka back in Crystal Palace, and suddenly he'll be a different player.
absolutely,
Because Palace is trying to do something which suits his game.
Absolutely.
You don't know what Man United are trying to do, so you can't say it suits his game. And the second thing is, and I said this to a Man United fan today, and he nearly fell over. I've been looking at football for a long, long time. This is the biggest and the hardest job ever in my entire football lifetime that's in front of Manchester United right now. Far bigger than what Klopp did to reinvigorate Liverpool, because it's economies of scale. When he took over Liverpool, we were nowhere near the infrastructure and the potential size of Manchester United. And I draw the line at saying because we're Manchester United, because I don't subscribe to that notion anymore. But everything is in place for that phoenix to rise from the flames. But it is an absolute mess of unparalleled levels. Never seen this before. And there's a possibility that it won't work for Ten Hag because of what goes on behind the scenes. And he's a really good manager, and that would be a real shame. But let's not pull any punches. This is the biggest job in world football to put this right in the last 40 years. Any side in world football.
Phoenix rising from the ashes, devil descending to hell. That's what we're going with Manchester United. The devil descending into hell. But let's get rid of all this doom and gloom. Let's go to a proper team, a red team, a bright team, top 4 team, Arsenal. As you bring in 18.
Hello.
Look at that kit. Look at that kit. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's
finally proud to kiss the badge again.
Bro, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I was going to say, you're talking about, look at that shirt. Where's your shirt, fam?
Mine?
Yeah.
We get top 4 in it. I do no premature nonsense. But no, we'll talk about the Arsenal. They obviously were active on the weekend, securing the victory against Leeds United's goals from Eddie Nketiah. And Leeds ended up with a goal from a corner. I think it's the first we conceded this entire year.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So 80. Let's bring you straight in on this. It was a very solid win from Arsenal. They did look a bit shaky near the closing moments, but very, very solid win.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm pleased because just if you flip back 4 games. You ask yourself, are they going to beat Leeds? Are they going to, and then, Arteta's made some changes to the squad, which, fair play to him, has definitely worked out because those 2 changes that he made, literally a 4-game winning streak, a toughest run of the last 8 games as well, of who we've beaten and who we've had to face. So, very pleased. Again, closing out games, we're still... because the last 3 games haven't been our strongest performances. Even against Chelsea, closing it out, was kind of shoddy. So that is definitely a thing for us. We're going back to at least we're scoring more than 1 goal a game, but we're going back to that wasting a lot of opportunities, which is where I think a clear in and out striker will be very pivotal, which is what we're looking for in the summer, where a lot of chances they'll be scoring, where we're missing or we're just not finishing the final ball. So. But I was happy with the performance with Leeds. Happy that we started strong and quick as well. We did. And then Nketiah, bloody hell, what can you say? I mean, what everyone said it. He went on the podcast and said if you give him 5 games, let him start 5 games, he'll score. And that's what he's done. He's 4 and 6, which is great. And there's 2 braces. So yeah, I'm happy with Arsenal. They're going to get top 4.
There you go. You said it there. That's a very confident statement. I'm not quite ready to make that statement.
I was going to say you got a big game coming up.
I don't know. I'd say I'm 70% positive that we're going to end up in top 4 this season. I just feel like the decision to announce that Arteta had signed his new deal, it was just a jinx. And if you look at the performance on the weekend, yes, we were very good in the first half, but the second half, man, we showed all the signs of weakness that have kicked us in the arse this season in some games. And when it comes to the top players, Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, who's on fire this season, they're the ones that you're just going to be scared of to exploit that. But anyway, positive. Let's talk about it, man. Arsenal. What's your? I mean, let's stick to Nketiah. What do you want done with him? You mentioned the podcast that he was on. I think it was what do they call it again?
Beautiful game.
The beautiful game. That was he was on that podcast and he said like you said, give him 5 games, he'll score goals. What do you want done with him? Because
I want him sold.
I don't want him to get a new contract.
No, I don't want him to get a new contract. I want him to go. For both parties, I think it'll be better for him. I'm wary that he's got a good run of games, but let's say we keep him next season, we start him. Let's say he gets 3 games, good run, but then he goes for a 10-game spell, no run. That's bad for us. That's bad for him because manager drops him and we go through this process again. I think what's helped us as well in this long run of games is that the teams we faced, barring Leeds, have played a lot more football than we have and have played in Europe. So we have been facing, tired and teams that are going through their own difficulties in Man United and whatnot, which has helped us. But fresh season, all teams are fit. Does Eddie Nketiah score the brace against Chelsea? Does he even score the brace against Leeds? Even if he gets one or two in a 5-game run, does he do the same thing? I don't know. But also for him, I think he needs to go to a team where it's a fresh start and he can be the leading man for that 10-15 game run because there's less pressure. Because if Arsenal do get Champions League now and Eddie Nketiah goes 5 games without scoring, the fans will turn against him. And can he deal with that pressure? Can he come back from it? Because I don't know if he can, and because history hasn't shown that he can. Because he's had good runs and then he hits bad form, fans turn against him, his head drops, and he makes rash mistakes. So I think it's best for both parties for him to go and find somewhere else. And I'm glad he's doing well now because it means there'll be better teams out there wanting to sign him and take him on and take that chance on him. And he's still young, so it's not like in the future maybe he comes back to Arsenal or comes back to a top 4 team and does well. He's still young. There's still a lot for him to learn and play. But I just think right now him and Arsenal aren't going to work well over a long season.
Steve, you agree with that assessment?
I think if you get top 4, Lacazette's going to move on. I think everyone acknowledges that. You're then left with Nketiah and Martinelli to play through the middle. You're going to need to buy. If you buy 2, then you've got 4 with Nketiah and Martinelli. If you get rid of Martinelli, you need to buy 3. You don't have the funds to buy 3 players that will get you through a season. So you may need to look at Nketiah and say, okay, take a leaf out of, let's use Liverpool, for instance. Taki Minamino, Divock Origi, who clearly, despite the T-shirt, are clearly not going to be in a position to play every week, but will chip in at vital times. We talk about the League Cup win Liverpool and how instrumental Minamino was. Well, if you ask Arsenal, would you fancy a League Cup win now? Every single fan and person in the club would say, yes, please, we want to go to Wembley, we want to win a trophy. So if you suddenly jettison 2 out of your 3 centre forwards, you've then got to spend 60, 70, 80, 90 million to buy 3 players of any standard that can come in and be rotated through a season. So I understand why you think it's time to move him on. I just think from a financial point of view and where you might find yourself in terms of a massive increase in numbers, then you might have to manage his game time and not get rid of him when you think that might be the right thing to do. He may get a new contract on the same terms he's on now with the remit to prove his worth. It might be a short-term 2-year deal. You don't stand to lose anything for having him for 2 years. He will help you in the games when you come back from trips abroad in the Champions League, which will be new to your squad. So pretty much all of them, with the exception of Odegaard, who played Champions League football with Real Madrid. You just don't want to make the mistake of lightening your front line when you're going to be possibly playing 60 games a season.
I mean, Kojo, let's talk about the top four battle, man. Who's getting it for you?
I don't know, Thursday's game is so key because look, with Arsenal, obviously you guys are in the ascendancy right now. You're 4 points clear. No disrespect to Tottenham, they got a good draw at Liverpool. I think a lot of people expect them to lose. So for them to get a point there was good, but at the detriment of that is they go further behind Arsenal. My issue with Arsenal is, as good as your recent form has been, not too long ago you were losing games that you should not have been losing, and it's the situation where I say, okay, look. North London derby, if you win that game or even draw that game, I think you're in a very, very, very strong position from there. I mean, if you win it, it's done, isn't it? If you draw, you're still 4 points clear. You can afford to lose one game provided that you win the other one. That's a really good position to be in. But if you were to lose that game, I don't think any Arsenal fan can convince me that they are confident that the club will go on to finish in the top four. That's not because they think Spurs are better than them, because Spurs also have a bit of bottle in them as well. It's more a case of similar to everything that's been happening in the last couple of years, to me, to you sort of situation where we look now and we say, considering the fact that in 2022 Chelsea have won only 3 Premier League games, Arsenal and Tottenham, if they were serious, should have been in third and fourth by now. Chelsea shouldn't be third. So that in itself will pose a question to both sets of fans and say, I don't know if we can do it, but I'll wait until Thursday. After Thursday's result, then I can say in my chest who I think is getting top four. So if I play a bit of spoiler for myself, if Arsenal win or draw that game, top four is Arsenal's. That's my opinion. If Arsenal lose that game, I don't think they're going to lose the other two. But I think Spurs will get in more points than Arsenal to just climb above them. That's how I see it. I feel like if they win that North London derby, you're giving them too much. What's the word?
Drive, I guess.
Drive, yeah. To just push forward and get that spot. And people like Son and Kane will be in the mood for that game, so you're gonna have to silence them as well. But Tomiyasu's good. Gabriel is very strong as well. So I'm expecting those two to do directly go head to head with those two. That's what I expect. Your issue is going to be the left side, or it could be the right side actually. Because I mean, if Tavares is not playing, or if Tavares is playing,
no. So what I'm thinking is that he's going to go with the same
Cedric
on the left and Cedric on the right. So I'm thinking the right side is going to be the problem.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Because Son against Cedric does not sound like
that's a mismatch, man. That's an absolute mismatch.
But at the same time, if it's Tavares versus Kulusevski, that could also be a problem. But look, again, I'll on their side, I mean, if you were to start Martinelli on the left against Emerson Royale, we could also talk about that also. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not going to downgrade Arsenal. And to be honest, no matter who they start left back, Saka is playing damn good right now. So he's feeling confident, and then Nketiah's found confidence at the right time. So whether he stays or not, he's hungry for goals. So look, that game is huge. That game is huge. But after Thursday, I feel like I would be confident as to who I can say can finish top four. Right now, I don't have a clue.
I honestly feel like we don't lose that game on Thursday. I don't think we lose that game. Because if you look at it, Arsenal are going to be the ones that have to sit back, and that is the opposite of what Antonio Conte has done at this Spurs side. He's always set back on the counter, and when they face the big teams in the big games, it's often we're going to play you on the counter like they did it on the weekend and try to score our goals from there. In this game, they need to be very much on the front foot because it is a do or die for them. They have to get the 3 points on Thursday, otherwise it's a wrap. It's pretty much wrap. Even if they get a draw, it's pretty much a wrap.
Do you think you and AT? Do you think that you guys will play or tactically set up to maybe be comfortable with a draw if it leads to that, rather than?
Oh no, I think he's going into the game for the draw. I don't think if he's got any sense about him, he goes into the game for the draw in the hope that he can nick a win.
Okay.
But like you said, we we can praise Son, we can praise Kane, we can praise Kulusevski. What we can't do is praise their defense. Maybe barring Romero, because their defense has got as much clowns in it as ours does. So maybe even more, to be honest, because they're still playing Dyer, they're still playing Ben Davies, and he's had a good game, but we all know that he's not a very good defender. So I honestly don't see us losing that game. I really, really don't. And that's probably me being overzealous and overconfident. But man, it comes down to the top four, and I think there's the fact that they're going to have to get out of their comfort zone and play a very different game to what they would play against a bigger team in a big moment. That's going to be their downfall. AT?
I'd say it depends what happens in the first 20 minutes. If we're outclassing them in the first 20 minutes, I'm just talking about Arteta's tactics. He'll go for the win. He'll call the players in and say, "No, go for the win." Hold on for a second, guys. I'm busy. He'll go for the win. If they're putting pressure on us, serious pressure on us, he'll be like, you know what? Let's just defend this. Let's go for a 0-0 or 1-1, whatever. We'll go for a draw. You know, I think he's going to play it by ear, because while Arteta is I want to say he's a smart manager, he's ready to risk it, but at the same time he knows that top four is in sight. That's the goal. That's all we want. We don't want to risk anything else. We don't know how Newcastle and Everton is going to go. We want to make sure if we can't secure top four today, we want to keep the gap between Spurs and us as wide as possible. So I reckon he'll give it 20 minutes to see how we're playing, and see, if Tottenham are peppering us, he's just going to sit back and tell everyone, defend your arse off. Tell Xhaka to get a red card if he has to.
No.
I'm just saying that I think if they're putting pressure on us, someone's going to make a mistake, and it's most likely going to be Xhaka. That's, I don't want it. I want us to go for the win personally, because I feel with Tierney out, Partey out, playing Cedric or Tavares, we're not at our best defensively. It's not the Arsenal that we've seen this season, where I think we could hold off a team, and I think, so I want us to go for the win just to keep pressure off us, but it's Kane and Son, so,
Steve, your unbiased opinion, despite the fact that they pretty much flattened your title hopes this weekend.
How on earth can I be unbiased when you've just said that? Thanks, mate. A little dig in there, That was uncalled for, that, wasn't it?
It was.
I think Arsenal will get top four. I think of the remaining games, Arsenal are more likely to pick up the points. It is a massive, massive game, isn't it? Your North London derby. If you can deal with the threat out wide, you can find a way to suppress Harry Kane picking up the ball and feeding the width, you've got half a chance. I do agree with the comment about, Romero aside, even after the game the weekend, I think you can get it. You can get it. Tottenham. Saka's huge. Saka's huge for this game. He really is. And Martinelli needs to be the Martinelli that played against Liverpool in the League Cup, the one that Klopp came out of the press conference and said, by the way, that's going to be a player. Martinelli, special, because he was. And then you go on and you go forward. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and the Arsenal project is a lot more advanced than some of the Arsenal fans give it credit for, because we have a tendency to watch our teams through a massively different perspective than when we look at other people's teams, and we're super critical of everything that doesn't work. And I do it for Liverpool, and I know Kojo does it for Manchester United. When rival fans sit and watch your team play, you can sometimes get a better analogy of where you're at. Arsenal's project is going all right, it really is. And if you get top four, then it'd be really interesting to see phase 2 of that project. It's not catastrophic if you don't, because if you finish 5th and you get Europa, it's still an improvement on the previous season, and that's all you can ask for. And 6 games into the league, you were in the bottom 3, and everyone was saying, could they? And I was like, no, they won't. They'll finish anywhere between 10th and 6th because they've just got too much quality. so much so, turn the season around really, really well. And I think for the whole package, for the whole team, the way the whole thing is, I think probably better generally in all areas than Tottenham are in all areas. I think Cedric's a worry, a real worry, versus Son. That's frightening. But then Saka versus Ben Davis will not be fun either. So it works both ways, doesn't it? So I could see it being a draw, and then it's down to the remaining games of the season to see who does what. I don't think either team can afford to come out and play for a draw. It's well documented. If you go into football matches playing for draws, invariably you lose the game because you don't know whether to stick or bust. So I get what you're saying and I understand why you would say it. I don't think either team can go into that game thinking we hold what we have. If you go and win it, it's yours. If they go and win it, it's right back in the melting pot there, and they're the favourites potentially to do that. So the rewards far outweigh the risk in terms of what happens at the end for the winning team for me.
There we go. I know. Go on, Roger.
Before we move on, I'm sorry, because you know me and defending and everything, right? Luke Ayling, I'm sorry, I just have to come back to this one. What an absolute pillock, right? Right? Your team is already missing Stuart Dallas. You're the other key man in that defense. And you go and commit all 2-footed tackles from me are pretty much pointless anyway. But the most ridiculous of two. Firstly, you're approaching the guy that's going nowhere. So you don't even just stand in his way and just.
He was just mad, bro. He was angry.
And I'm there like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why have you done that? On top of that as well, shout out the Leeds fans for their foolishness. They're putting up 2 fingers at Martinelli. I'm like, that's the one person putting 2 fingers up, mate, because you're in a relegation battle, and Everton just won. So I wouldn't be, clapping my boy right now. I'll be looking at him and calling him an idiot because that was foolish. So yeah, I mean, look, it was 2-1, and maybe if he was on the pitch, maybe they could have had a bit more of a say in the game. But who's to know that? No, because he was an absolute donut. I've called him an idiot, donut, and a pillock in 2 minutes. He deserves all 3 of them.
There you go. Another person that was an idiot, pillock, and a donut was probably Patrick Hoiberg, because he could have got the goal that secured all 3 points for Spurs on the weekend. Liverpool won, Spurs won. We're gonna come to you, Steve. I wouldn't say it's completely over, but it might be over. The quadruple dream, it might be over.
Well, it doesn't look great, does it? I mean, what's first flight football? 150 years old. No one's ever done a quadruple before. No one's ever even been close to a quadruple before, or this close at least. Why? Because it's nigh on impossible given all of the things that unfold in the season. We're not tired. We're not tired against Tottenham, and that's understandable because of the sheer volume of games we're playing and the magnitude of those games will offer you mental as well as physical fatigue. They got their tactics right. They did. They often had 9 players in the box. Klopp's come out and said he couldn't coach that way. Stop sticking microphones on the manager's noses in times when they're anything but rational. He's irritated and frustrated because it doesn't work. Same thing with Guardiola's comments. You've seen the 2 most high-profile managers in the Premier League come out and say things that, if they'd slept on it and thought about it, never would have dreamed of saying it. And that's what pressure does to you. It's funny, it's amusing, but it is a fact. That is what happens. We can influence 2 more trophies ourselves. It's in our hands to do that, and I think we will win both of those. We're relying on Wolves and Aston Villa giving us one or both, giving us a leg up in terms of the league. But the reality is, if we finish second on 92 points to a Man City side that gets 95, then there's no disgrace in that. We're talking about a league, guys, where if you lose 2 games and draw 5, you're out of the running. That's absolutely ridiculous. The level that these 2 teams are operating at. I won't be sitting there going, "Oh, we threw it away." And when there's questions to be asked, are we going, how on earth do you beat a Manchester City side that is capable of that? And for all the talk of how good Liverpool have been, and they have, and they've reeled in 14 points, it's always a big ask. It's not over. We never give up till the last game. But part of me says if we're going to lose it, let Manchester City go perfect to the end of the season, and the Tottenham game has no bearing on the end result because it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But if they do slip up and we lose out by a point or it goes to goal difference, and that's why I said at the top of the show before we went on, I thought Newcastle's performance was disgraceful against City. They really didn't turn up. Our season will be one that we will celebrate, whether it's 1 trophy, 2 trophies, 3 trophies, or for whatever reason we end up with all 4. It's to be celebrated, and I can't sit on your show or anyone else's show and say I'm down in the mouth and fed up about it. That was always going to be our hardest game in the run-in, just as it will be Arsenal's hardest game in the run-in, because they set themselves up to hurt you on the counter-attack. And yes, Højlund could have headed the ball back towards goal, but he was on the stretch. You know, he's not Duncan. Didn't turn into Duncan Ferguson overnight and stick that one in the top corner. You know, and Van Dijk hits the crossbar with his own header early on in the game, and that's been forgotten about. So people are saying, "Oh, Spurs made the chances to win." They both had chances to win the game. I thought a draw was a fair result. I was frustrated and a bit deflated on the night, but you have to put things into perspective. We will play every game that is feasibly possible to play in a season. There's not been a side in English football that's ever done that before. And as I said before, when we look at it in the cold light today, when the season's over, we'll have a big party on the streets of Liverpool to celebrate what we've done.
I mean, Kojo, there was a point there of not sticking a microphone in front of a manager's face after when they're emotional. Is that something you agree with?
If you're emotional, my guy, stay in the dressing room. Look. It is. I think
it's not the first time Klopp's done this, though.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not the first time. The thing is, Klopp, and it's not just a Klopp issue. There's a lot of managers in football where I don't know if Steve will agree with me on this one. It's my personal opinion anyway. I feel like there's a lot of managers now that because they despise, or maybe despise is a strong word, but maybe they just don't like another brand of football, the way other teams set up, because they want football to be entertaining. They are managers that, even when Klopp was building,
nonsense, bruv. Nonsense. They want to win. Don't get me
wrong. I'm not saying they don't want to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, even when Klopp had the team that he trained Liverpool with, Skirtle and all those guys there.
Yeah.
They were still playing a brand of football that was pretty much going forward and attacking, trying to create as many chances as possible. The defense wasn't great back then. Obviously, they have a lot more of a stronger defense now. But of course, you want to win. But he gets annoyed by a brand of football, and I feel like you got to understand at times, and I think he understands it, but maybe he doesn't. You can't expect Tottenham, who know quite clearly that they're not on your level, to come and approach you in a way where they're going to come and attack you head on. It's not going to happen. They're going to be very, very tactical about it. Their attacks are going to be calculated. They're going to aim to get the front three involved. The rest of them can sort of just be here and there if need be. Højlund can go forward once in a while, hit the post obviously as well, as you guys mentioned earlier. But they're not going to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool because it's not on Liverpool's level. So they're going to sit as much as they can. People like Ben Davies will chase every ball that Salah's running the ball with. So when he has a shot, he's there to put his leg in the way. Romero's going to be as aggressive as ever. Diaz is going to be there and try and be a block because he knows that if Spurs go toe-to-toe and it comes to a situation where it's 3-on-3, more likely Liverpool are spanking Spurs. And I think Klopp just has to get used to the idea of that. And it's going to continue to happen because they're not on Liverpool's level. Same thing will happen with City. Not many teams will go against City and say, yeah, I think we can go toe-to-toe with this team. Because why would you? I mean, I feel like Newcastle even tried to do it to an extent. I'm watching them, I'm thinking, why? Because, I mean, you've got money, you've been in good form, and you've been in good form scoring goals, but you also got to also understand sometimes your opponents and where you're going to, and understand that right now, you've now got nothing to play for, whereas they're trying to get the title. They're trying to stop another superb team from winning the league over them. So they're going to come and kill you. And what you got to do is try your best to not be killed. on the pitch, and Newcastle didn't do that. So, no, look, I get it. Emotional, absolutely, because Ferguson was one emotional man as well. And sometimes I sit down and be like, yo, my guy, don't talk today, please. But when you keep doing it, and it's a case of, they're a world-class team, but why would you come and sit back and would I don't like it? He said in the press conference as well, he admitted it's a him problem. He admitted it. He says, me problem, I don't like that kind of approach. That's what Atletico Madrid do as well. He mentioned that to them as well.
He was going to name everybody.
Yeah, at least he's aware of it. That's the one thing I respect about him. At least he knows that he'll take it. I don't like
guys. Is that he did say that Conte is world class, and he is frustrated. So here's the thing: Manchester City are the only team that, when play Liverpool, attempt to go toe to toe, and that's why occasionally, when either of those teams gets it right, the other one's on the end of a bit of a pasting because we've both done it to each other. The other 18 home games we play in the season is just one low block after the other. It is frustrating because Tottenham were in that game and could have been more adventurous and possibly could have even won it because Liverpool were leggy and they were tired, and that's probably the most vulnerable I've seen Liverpool in recent months, never mind recent weeks. So sometimes you have to be a bit brave. They've not really gained anything by getting a point against Liverpool in terms of trying to overhaul Arsenal. They've not really made any ground up. In fact, they lost ground because you won at the same weekend. So sometimes you've got to go. It's very calculated. It's a play the percentages game, isn't it? To accept a draw at Liverpool, go to a North London derby and think, well, it's all or nothing really, that game for Spurs, because if they lose it, they won't recover the. You don't see Arsenal losing the last 2-3 games of the season and Spurs overhauling them. So it gets frustrating for managers of a certain teams, certain styles, and certain part of their project when teams just come and try and keep you out. And I watch Manchester City play week in, week out, more in the hope that they slip up than interest in watching them. Teams just turn up at the Etihad, sit in front of their goalkeeper and try and keep them out. That is impossible to do against Manchester City because it's death by 1,000 cuts. They just create angles and cut you to ribbons all over the pitch. I'd be brave. Go and have a go. Go and work up a head of steam. Stop allowing Manchester City's centre-backs to play football in your half, because the moment you allow that to happen, you're dead. You're not getting out of there. You're not going to get anything from them. It's kind of like, and I don't know whether Manchester City fans say the same about Liverpool when they play other people. Stop playing to their strengths. Have a go at Liverpool. Try and be long into the corners and try and turn them around and get in behind them. But to watch teams play Manchester City, I think 75% of them are beaten before they go on the pitch. So you've got 18 teams that turn up and don't try at your ground. And then you've just watched in recent weeks Manchester City wipe the floor with everybody because it appears nobody's trying. And at this point of the season, that's hard to take. We expected to beat Spurs. That was it.
We expected you to beat Spurs as well.
Yeah, and I think if you talk to Spurs fans, they expected to lose. But football throws up these crazy. It's not a crazy result, but they throw up these results. And Klopp said today in his press conference. Would he say that again in the same environment? No, he wouldn't. I suspect Guardiola will come out in his press conference in coming days and say that's ill-advised to talk about how many trophies Liverpool have won and the fact that everybody supports Liverpool. Well, I can tell you now from my timeline on Twitter, they absolutely do not support Liverpool. And with the exception of Villarreal, every single set of away fans that have been at Anfield this year have told us exactly what they think of Liverpool and players. Only Villarreal come out of Anfield not singing songs about poverty and death and things like that. So fair play to them. They're honest guys, but I think Guardiola's got it massively twisted if he thinks it's English football versus Manchester City, because it really isn't.
I think he was.
He's a crybaby.
Mentioning the media a little bit. I think it's a media thing because
just on that one.
Yeah.
You've got Carragher, Neville, Richards, Redknapp, Crouch, Owen, Ferdinand, Hargreaves, all affiliated to Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, you're not going to get an impartial opinion from anybody in terms of summarising their own games. So why would you expect him to come out and say the media should be more impartial and not support Liverpool when Sky picked Graham Souness, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville to talk about a Liverpool game? Why would they give Manchester City kudos? They just wouldn't do it, would they?
I think there was a I don't know his name, but there's a journal. I was watching Sky Sports earlier. There was a journalist on there, and I think it's the ones that are visible is very easy to say, but there are the X amount here. But it's the ones that aren't. So it's the writers that are writing the articles for the Guardian, for the Times. Those are the ones that I think he's.
Why do you think that is?
Liverpool were very successful in the time that these writers were growing up. I'm not saying that it's not a problem.
I also think, I just in general, I think it's because for those writers, they've had enough of City's dominance through financial dominance. So now that Liverpool's come up, for a lot of people, Liverpool's like a saving grace. But I don't agree that the whole country's on Liverpool's side. I just think Pep has like a chip on his shoulder. Like if you look at him throughout the years, like comments he's made is even before Liverpool became their biggest rival. Just he always makes comments like this. Even when Conte was at Chelsea, he made comments about Conte and Chelsea's playing style and the way they were going winning the league. When who else? I can't. Mourinho as well. He does this a lot. So he's just that's his insecurity. He will always come out. I don't think there's a season that goes by where he doesn't come out and says he makes it out to seem like the world has painted him as the villain in football and everyone's against him and everyone hates him, which is completely opposite. As Steve said, the timeline is not on Liverpool's side. I don't even see anyone wanting Liverpool over City. But yeah,
that's because I think in terms of the timeline, if you're talking about Twitter, football Twitter to be more precise, I think there are far less City fans than Liverpool fans. So I feel like they feel like there's, and I mean that's by design because Liverpool are a much bigger club than Man City. No matter how successful Man City have been, Liverpool have a size, and whether people like to acknowledge it or not, history counts for a lot in football. Yeah. That's what adds to your size of a football club. With Pep and the media comment, I think it's a bit old school. Maybe he's buying into that old thing where I think, admittedly, maybe a couple of years ago, maybe Match of the Day and all that, you had like your Mark Lawrence and this guy and that guy. There's a lot more Liverpool names in there, but then now you're looking. There's a lot more United names in there, as you've mentioned before, which by the way is one of the worst times to Man United Football Club. Those guys retiring, but it's going to continue because he wants everyone to. It's like I think Klopp wants everyone to admire his team, and I think Pep wants everyone to admire his team. And you have two men sort of having maybe it's not digs at each other, but it's digs around everyone of their opposition because they should be looked at as the so-called right party of football. And it's like Pep doesn't seem to understand that City have had so many scandals over the years. FFP should have been knocked out of the Champions League by rules alone, let alone anything else. Both clubs being involved in the Super League. Just so many different things. Liverpool as well. A lot of scandals with some players here and there. Even for things that didn't happen at Liverpool. I mean, there was a Van Dijk one that got brought up recently, and he was at Celtic at that time, let alone Southampton. So that's even a different thing. But all these things will keep happening. Look, at the end of the day, they need to get over themselves. That's what I always say. Because that's not how football works. That's not how life works. Not everyone's going to be cheering you on. And if I'm going to be very, 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 very rude towards Man City, it's because apart from Shaw Wright Phillips, they don't really have legends out there that will come out and talk football. Now it's company.
How dare you, sir? Sean Walter is an absolute legend.
Oh, I forgot about Ben Thatcher as well. My bad.
Paolo One-Chop as well.
Paolo One-Chop. Yeah, my bad. So sorry about that. Shea Given was there for about a year as well. That's a legend, right? They just don't have it. Whereas this generation, since 2010, they're building their legacy now. So a company might come and do a show once in a while. Aguero's doing ESPN South America right now, having Balotelli and Tevez on these shows. So now their influence is growing, but they didn't have that because they were never big. And this, for me, they're still not big. They're not near Liverpool in size. They're Man United in size. So until they get to that size, they ain't gonna have that much influence in the media, and that's just what it is.
I mean, we call him emotional all the time, but he is a brilliant manager. We have to admit that, and they won.
They did
5-0 on the weekend. Goals, of course, from Raheem Sterling, Laporte, Rodri, Foden, and Sterling once again. It's going to be like this. I was going to say it's going to be like this. I was going to ask myself a question, but no, I'm going to ask you, Coach. The question is going to be like this for the remainder of the season, don't you think? It's just going to be City absolutely blowing teams away, until they get the total points needed to win the league.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with playing City is what they do at the end of the day is set up for tap-ins and all that. I think what happens as well is City can be got at, not to the extent of you can create many chances against them, but when you get 2 or 3 sniffs, you start to feel a bit more confident. I saw that with Newcastle on the weekend. They managed to get in St. Maximin for a couple of runs here and there, and then gradually the team started following them. They started trying to get on the ball a bit more. Joe Linton was trying to drive the ball forward, and it was like, you really need to continue to protect your defense. Don't get me wrong, I know you're safe of relegation. You've got nothing to play for in terms of pushing for a European spot or anything, but have some pride about it. Just be a bit more smarter about how you approach the game and keep it that way. And they started well and ended terribly. And that's what happened to them. And look, City will win games 1-0, 5-0. They are a team that just pass the ball around. They're a team that has so many runners, and they're a team that have options. Liverpool now have options as well, but City have had options for a while, and that's why they can continue to just keep creating chances and scoring as many goals. And when it goes to playing at home, they do everything they can to score as many goals as possible. 3 points in this title race is a big gap when you're going against Man City.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, it is one loss, and Liverpool know how to score goals as well. But will they lose that game? I don't think so. I think the only team that can really stop them, really, in terms of winning a game is Liverpool. And the occasional off day, no matter who that is, doesn't matter who it is. It could be anybody, really. They trounced Newcastle. Newcastle got exactly what they deserve because they got to a bit too confident. And it's a shame saying that. Me saying, hey, you shouldn't play football. You should just sit back and, try and soak up pressure and get a point or sneak 3 points. But that's what it is right now. That's the reality. But what I will say is Newcastle also have money now. And soon enough, this game will be called the El Clasico. And you'll be talking about two sides that have spent a lot of money that are now trying to tussle for something else. I think Newcastle will get there, but right now, they ain't there. They're nowhere near there even.
A bit of naivety in their style of play, Steve, wouldn't you say?
Oh, without a doubt. They have pace in St. Maxim. They have a decent midfielder in Bruno Guimaraes. They're playing a centre forward in centre midfield, which just doesn't work against teams like. They'd almost been better putting Joe Linton alongside Chris Wood up top and hitting long diagonals into them and getting around them, because that would be the physical element that, Diaz went off injured and apparently his season's over now, according to Guardiola. So, they're going to go with Nathan Ake for the rest of the season. He was not a bad defender, but he's not of the same caliber as Ruben Diaz. But I think Newcastle were really naive. They have 2 big guys who could have played down the centre up top and just gone long and hit them all day long and tried to get around them and tried to play as much football in City's half or City's box as possible. It's just, when you sit there and you don't do anything, City will just use the old Barcelona method of creating angles and tear you to shreds. And it was a procession. It was just far too easy, and that's embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing. That is to go to a team that's in the shakedown for the title and put in that performance. That's appalling. That was a dreadful performance.
5-0 18, and they didn't even have a strike, and it looks like they're probably going to go on to win the league. But we're not even talking about them this year. We're talking about what's happening next year. Not apparent. It's happened. £60 million sterling for Erling Haaland. That's the hottest signature on the market this
Hold
season,
on,
last
wait,
season,
hold on,
every
hold on,
season.
hold on. Sorry, no, you know what? It's cheaper than that, and that's what's making me angry.
Is it cheaper?
Cheaper.
It's 52 million euros, which is like 40 million pounds or something stupid. I'm absolutely mad. I am fuming at that because that's a brilliant deal.
Listen,
What the heck is that?
I saw it this morning. I don't really know what to say. Part of me wants to say, "What's the point?" You get to the point where you're like, "What's the point?" Like getting it for 52 million euros as well that makes me, well, they're probably gonna win the league next season.
But it's not about the league. It's not about the league. When you sign
Champions League,
a player of Erling Haaland's quality, that's the trophy they're looking for.
Yeah,
but it changes the dynamic. It changes their whole dynamic. They've got to play with a 9. They haven't done that for 3 years. Realistically, a proper 9. So it's a change. Sorry to interrupt you, 80.
no,
It's a style. It's a stylistic change in play to accommodate a number 9. So it'd be interesting to see how that works because he takes the place of one of the 10s that creates all these angles that rips people to shreds. So we'll see how it goes.
Funnily enough, I was just going to say Champions League, I still prefer Liverpool over City, even with Haaland. Because I genuinely thought City were going to get it this year. I thought this was like, after last year, after the last 2 years, that Pep's going to give everything to the Champions League. And, I genuinely I don't think Pep's going to be the one to win the Champions League with City. That's just, so I think on paper they're going to have it, and then it's just going to be one game where it just all goes wrong. Whereas Liverpool are the opposite. If a game goes wrong, they come back the next game and make sure everything goes right. And so I just think in the Premier League that's Pep's bread and butter right now. Just winning Premier League, he's doing it without a 9. So you give him a 9 of Haaland's quality, and it's just assume he brings just 80% of what he's done in Bundesliga to the Premier League. How do you beat that? How do you stop that? I don't know.
Do you think there's going to be some problems introducing him, Steve?
I think it's difficult to know how they're going to play. Obviously, he likes to come deep, pick the ball up, so they will still get runners off him. But in terms of, you watch a lot of his goals for Dortmund, he's middle, front and centre, and in an orthodox number 9 position, and beating goalkeepers from 4 or 5 yards out when balls are played in. What will work for him is City get round the back of you and pull the ball back into the box. Yeah. And if he's clever, he'll score a lot of goals from that. Mm-hmm. But it does change everything in terms of how they play. They changed the way Sergio Aguero played to accommodate the model they've got now. When did Johan Cruyff or Barcelona ever have a typical number 9, in the lineup? I suppose you could say Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Barcelona, but it didn't work. Samuel Eto'o to some degree, but Samuel Eto'o had many facets to his game when he was playing for Barcelona. He wasn't just a typical number 9. I'm interested. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but I'm interested to see how the dynamic works because he's got Silva, Foden, Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling. One of those misses out every week to play Erling Haaland. And he'll probably score 50 goals and they'll win everything. But, it's an interesting dynamic. It really is. I can't stress it enough. It changes everything. The current system of how they play needs to be ripped up. They need to start again. They need to find a way to make passages of play around him and have an end product where he is the man that puts the ball in the back of the net. Harry Kane would have been potentially an easier fit because of A, Premier League experience, and B, just dropping into positions and being a genuine playmaker these days. But we watch with interest because it for me, it just changes everything.
Harry Kane ripping his hair out as we speak. But, Kojo, they're winning everything, right?
You know what? Funny enough, I agree with what AT said. See, so after they lost to Real Madrid, which was a beautiful day, by the way.
Was it? I wonder why.
Stunning day. If you talk to Alex, my cousin, he'll tell you that at 1-0 in the 80th minute, I was on my knees praying in my living room, and a couple of minutes later, they scored. My God is powerful. But we move. Anyway, look, whether City fans like to admit it or not, Pep Guardiola was brought in to not only win the league but the Champions League is what they want to get over the line under as well. That they want that European trophy. There's no shame in admitting that. Bringing him in doesn't mean you win the Champions League and nothing else. It means, yes, we want to dominate in every single area. And adding Haaland to a team that's already so productive, someone that's known as the next hottest striker or the hottest striker in terms of young, and for the next 10, 15 years going to be the prodigy, the guy scores goals alongside Mbappe in terms of, who's the number one striker, goal scorer in football.
Currently the Maria Sharapova, Serena Williams competition.
Indeed. Look, you're signing him because you feel like he's the final piece to the jigsaw. Sort of actually similar to what I think Chelsea fans had in mind when they said, we've won the Champions League, we want to compete for the title, so we need a striker. Unfortunately for them, they signed the wrong striker. C need to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, if it doesn't work out, C, I'm not going to say that he's lost his ability. Some things don't work out. I mean, Steve obviously brought up Ibrahimovic, quality footballer. He still scored goals there, but it didn't work out in the long run, so he left. Eto'o scored many goals under Pep, but him and Pep didn't get along. He didn't like how Pep wanted him to play a bit of football. Apparently Pep doubted him and his ability and all that. So it didn't work. It didn't work out too fine. And David Villa was with him for about 2-3 years, and eventually was like, okay, I'm done with you, kind of thing. I'm going to get rid of you as well. And Villa worked because they got the Champions League as well. I think they won the treble again, but it has been a bit hit and miss with strikers in the past. That is the truth. But he's got someone who is very, very young, who he can spend a lot of time with now. So it'll be interesting to see. I would say it does change a lot, but Liverpool are still very strong, so they'll still be there. And I've said this time again. The formula to compete is not very hard. Obviously, finding the quality is hard, but the formula is not very difficult. You get your manager. You say, I'm going to back him. You give him the players that he feels like he needs to challenge, and if it works in the first and second season, give him the extra that he needs for that third season, and then he can compete with the other guys. All the other guys right now don't look like they're going to be next to or close enough to doing that right now. But it doesn't mean that because they're signing Haaland, for me, it doesn't mean that, the Premier League's done for the next 10 years and City are winning 8 out of 10 of them. It means they've added quality and everyone else now needs to try and step up to counter that quality one way or another. Liverpool are still a very good side. I said it earlier. I said it to Steve earlier. Sadio Mane, Firmino and Salah. I mean, Salah's been linked with moves for years because he's a quality footballer. Firmino has been there for a while. Mane apparently in talks with Bayern Munich. Yeah, but they've really started with getting Diaz. Jota started well. He has a bit to work on, but he started well regardless. And Fabio Carvalho is coming in from Fulham. He's a young kid. He's 18 years old. He's got a big future ahead of him, and he's probably in the right club and right manager that will help him elevate his game even more. So they've continued that process as well. And Liverpool will spend again, and they'll get someone else at some point as well and add to that squad. That's what they do. Konate's there. Thiago's there. He's in his 30s, so eventually they'll look for the next stage. But that's what you do in football. Curtis Jones is still young, so they got a good team. So, it's not done. It's not done by a long shot, but what it means is they have one hell of an evil team, and you got to try and do your best to stop them, but they're not unbeatable. Doesn't matter who they are. So let's see what they can do, because I feel like we've seen scarier teams like your Galacticos at Real Madrid, and they didn't do too much. So if City now have to rip the script up and try something new, it could take a bit of time for them to implement it. That could be something to capitalize on, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We shall see what happens, and I think that is where we shall wrap it up. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for joining us, Steve AT. Where can we find you, Steve? You
can get me on my socials there. I got it right. There, you got the right handout. So hard to do that, isn't it? And also for Liverpool fans who might watch this, catch me on the Red Men TV weekly. We're on there on Wednesday for the final word following the Villa game and a debate show. There's a documentary coming out that I've been asked to be on. There'll be some ex-pros included in that as well, which is pretty cool. With the second one I've done. So that's really enjoyable. And as ever, guys, always a pleasure to come on and talk football with you guys. Thanks very much. Anyone watching this who hasn't already subscribed, what on earth are you doing? Get it sorted. Superb channel, and thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Steve. AT, where can I find yourself?
Yeah, you can find me at the official AT on Twitter and at AT_TP on Instagram. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And just repeating what Steve said, subscribe, follow the lads. This is where proper football is talked about.
Hold on, wait. AT, no, I'm not gonna. AT is also a fantastic musician, okay? So check out his music. Because he's lyrically fantastic.
Thank
he has
you.
good beats, and his music is fantastic and great to listen to as well. So if you want to
Thank
hear
you very much.
some great music as well, check him out. And he performs as well, so look out for his performances when he posts as well.
So a new single out soon. So yeah.
New single, like you didn't even mention
Hey,
it, bro.
bruv!
They were talking football, so I was like, let me not muddy the waters. Let's keep it on football. Yeah, new single.
Yeah. We talk football and we celebrate everything that everyone's doing. So Steve, we got you on that documentary that you're doing. I can't wait to see the stuff you do with the ex-pros and what you're doing with the Red Men as well, man. Big up you as well.
So what's the single called?
Okay, no one knows, but it's called Oh No.
There you go.
No. So
Oh,
that's
no.
an exclusive. You're the first people to know what the single's
There
called.
you go.
There you go.
There you go. Kojo, where can they find us?
All right, they can find us here on YouTube, Free Midfield Podcast. You can hear us on your audios on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Free Midfield, and of course on your socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. That's the other one, Free Midfield. Follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff.
This has been another episode of The Match Report. Good night.